This is the Kindy Rockstars Podcast, Season 6. Bringing you incredibly talented singers, artists, creators, and producers in the genre of children's music. I'm your host, Patrick Adams. Each episode will feature songs, album features, or video features, and great stories from the artists themselves. Kindy Rockstars Season 6 is proud to be supported and sponsored by Waldmania Public Relations, serving the family entertainment community for over 20 years, and Debbie Derryberry Kids. Debbie Derryberry, one of Hollywood's most active and sought-after voiceover artists, is best known for voicing Jimmy Neutron in the Academy Award-nominated film Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, and Draculaura in Monster High. A lifetime musician and songwriter, Debbie has written and recorded 4 award-winning preschool music albums. Her song Baby Banana hit number 1 on Sirius XM Kid. Her song, written with Grammy-winning artist Lisa Loeb, called The Compost Bin, has won a Napa Award. Her latest album, Gotta Go Green, also a Napa winner, is all about giving kids tangible ways to save the earth through recycling, composting, reducing carbon footprint, and more. Her YouTube channel, Debbie Derryberry Kids, combines her love of cartoons and music with delightful animated videos of her songs. Children listen as well as watch, so a visual component is so important. Kindy Rockstars thanks you so much for your support, and now, on with the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Kindy Rockstars. I have with me today, from Melbourne, Australia, Charlie from the band Easy Peasy. Welcome to the show, Charlie.
Thank you.
It's great to have you on, and I'm excited to hear about the story of you and your band. So tell us a little bit about your band and how you guys got started into making music for kids.
Yeah, so we're a band of 4 called Easy Peasy. So there's myself, and then there's 3 others, Harmony, Jake, and Michael. And we've been recording music with Easy Peasy for coming up on 3 years now. So it actually started, for some of our very first fans will remember, another project called Michael King and Friends. And Michael has very much always been an absolute just champion of children's music. And he, at this point, 4 or 5 years ago, basically really wanted to get together his own band of children's music. And actually, I first came into it as he asked me to design the logo for this idea of a band he had called Easy Peasy. And at the time, he had probably 5 or 6 different songs he was playing around with. And he was looking for someone to produce those tracks. So once I'd done all the branding and everything else, I said, look, would you just let me have a go at producing one of the tracks? And the first song I produced for Easy Peasy was actually a song called I Love Avocado, which still sits as our biggest song. So once I then came on board, he went, great. So actually, Michael knows a wealth of absolutely incredible talent. So really for him, it was just kind of deciding who would be the best fit for the rest of the band. And he went, I know these 2 great people called Harmony and Jake. I think they'd be absolutely perfect. And then it all just came together very, very naturally from there. So we basically spent about the first year working on our first album, which ended up being called So Much to Discover. And that rolled out across 2023. But there was probably from about June 2022, we really started working on Easy Peasy in earnest for the very first time.
And how long did it take you to get out and do live shows and things like that?
So to be honest, we didn't actually start doing live shows until the middle of last year. So a very big thing for us, which I'll kind of circle back to a little bit later, is when we recorded So Much to Discover, it was very much a congregation of different ideas we had floating around. And we ended up with 9 songs, and 9 songs which we're very, very proud of. But we kind of felt that we didn't necessarily have the right songs just yet for a live show, which I'll loop a little bit round about kind of Easy Peasy Party a little bit later on. But very much for us, we wanted to hold off on the live shows until we were certain we had the right set of songs. until we could put on a really strong show which we knew children could interact with and engage with.
Yeah, makes sense. And so how did you come up with the name Easy Peasy?
That is a very good question. It is. It's one of those things where, so I always joke that Michael has 1,000 ideas every minute. And to be honest, it's because he is. So he's absolutely, without a doubt, the driving creative force behind Easy Peasy. And it was one of those things where just one day Michael calls me, most days, or I call Michael, and we just kind of have a chat and catch up and just spitball different ideas about things we could do. And it was just one of those things where one day he just called me and went, so I want the band name to be called Easy Peasy. And I've gone, actually, it's not a bad name at all. And I genuinely want to say it was just one of those things where he heard someone that day say Easy Peasy to him. And it's just clicked in his head. Like, there was no grand idea behind it or grand plan. It was genuinely just one of those things where it was just right place, right time. And we went, no, that's it. That's the name.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I love the name. And, my 5-year-old is in kindergarten. She utters that phrase, easy peasy. It's something that,
That's
it's
it.
just, it's ubiquitous. And
That's it.
once
That's
people,
it.
people see the band name, it's like, yeah, it makes sense.
That's it. And it's, it's something which it is. It's just a saying which people use every single day. But also it's a little bit about kind of what we do to a certain extent, in that we're all about encouraging children to kind of express themselves, have a lot of fun. And it just feels like a very kind of laid back sort of phrase as well. Like, yeah, great,
Mhm.
easy peasy, just brilliant, fantastic. And it's kind of reflects us a little bit too, because that's kind of our approach to how we do things as well.
Yeah. No, it's fun to say. And your album title, Easy Peasy Party. Yeah, that just rolls off the tongue.
That's it. That's it.
All right, well, let's get into the making of that album. Yeah, so talk about how this one came together. What kind of ideas drove it and concepts.
Of course. So Easy Peasy Party had a very interesting origin. So we wrapped up our first album, So Much to Discover, in December of 2023. So Discover came out on December 9th. And then we had originally planned to take a few months off because we had basically spent the last year just constantly recording and writing in this endless cycle. And a couple different things were going on for different band members outside of Easy Peasy as well. So we went, okay, cool. We're just going to stop for a little bit, take a break, and then we'll look at a album towards the middle of 2024. But then about 2 weeks into January, in fact, probably 1 week into January, we had an offer come on the table from a Australian record label about the possibility of a recording contract. Now, that contract didn't eventuate in the end, but at the time they said, okay, the first album's fantastic, but we need another 3 demos for new songs. So all our plans to take time off went out the window, and we originally demoed 3 songs called Can Toucan, We're the Easy Peasy Music Band, and Dino Disco. Now, I say demoed, but in our typical fashion, we basically worked around the clock for 2 weeks straight and finished those 3 songs.
Mhm.
So we worked very, very hard and basically finished those 3 songs. And the only song of those which 2 of those songs were actually pre-written. So Dino Disco stems back to 2019. And again, it was one of those songs where Michael had just been kind of messing around in GarageBand one day, and he'd written the melody, and he kind of had a rough drum beat, and he knew he wanted the songs to be about dinosaurs. Now, one of the great things about the kind of way that we all work is, by my own admission, I'm a terrible lyricist. I can sit down, I can produce a track, I can do all that sort of thing, but lyrics aren't my strong point. Now, the great dynamic between Michael and Jake is Michael, last year, after all this time, when we were kind of sitting around going, okay, what songs are we going to record for this demo package? He dug out that demo and then sent it over and said to Jake, do you think you can kind of flesh this out a little bit? I would say it probably took Jake 15 to 20 minutes to flesh that out and turn it into the actual song. Like, they have a very, very strong songwriting dynamic between the two of them, and they just click. They click instantly, and it's always quite spectacular to watch because they just work together so well. But we finished off those 3 songs in record time, basically, and then sent those off, and then we basically went into a holding pattern because then we weren't sure, okay, are we going to be signed? Are we not? We didn't know what was going to happen. Now, in the end, we didn't end up getting signed, but at that point, would have been the middle of February, and we went, well, we've actually got 3 really strong songs that we're all really, really proud of. And considering we just come off the first album and we were already going, actually, these songs feel like quite a step above the songs that we've just recorded. We went, well, this is actually probably a little bit more of a sign to keep going. So we kind of, over the next 2 or 3 months, just kept workshopping and throwing ideas back and forth. And originally the idea actually wasn't for it to be Easy Peasy Party per se, but we had basically ended up with this collection of songs where we realized that the themes were all things that really sort of tied in to children's parties. So we had the song about dinosaurs. There's another song on the album called Building It Up, which is all about construction. There's another song about fairies. There's just all these different kind of songs on there which also work as themes which you might find at a children's birthday party. So we went, well, perhaps it is a party. Perhaps it's an easy peasy party. And then landed straight at that title. And as soon as we had that, we just went, no, that it rolls off the tongue really nicely. If that's not a sign, we don't know what is. But then from there, it just came together very, very quickly. So Jake had this fantastic bass line of all things and a really strong melody, which ended up being the basis of the actual song, Easy Peasy Party. And then we ended up writing one other song called My Party Has. And then by the time we kind of brought all those little pieces together, we ended up landing at the album we've landed on.
Very good. All right. Well, I'm excited. We're going to feature 3 songs from the album here today. So we'll talk about those and get the story behind those, and then we'll play them.
Perfect.
Let's kick it off here with Who Can Toucan. You did mention that one earlier. Tell us a little bit more about this one.
So Who Can Toucan does come from that original set of demos. It's a classic Michael song, is Who Can Toucan. It's one of those ones where the chorus in many ways is very, very simple, but also it's kind of not, which is very typical of Michael in that it's just this fantastic wordplay which just really, really rolls and flows nicely. But then also the lyrics are very, very carefully written to engage a child. So the principles which we always guide ourselves by in Easy Peasy is everything we do must combine music, movement, education, and entertainment. So for us, it's always important that there is a engaging element to every song for a child, and where possible, we're targeting some form of early childhood development or targeting some point of the early childhood curriculum. Now, a lot of the time for us, it's as simple as, they're big action songs where we're working on fine or gross motor skills or that sort of thing. But Toucan absolutely delivers on that in specifically speaking to the child and asking, can you do the toucan? And then putting a really simple set of actions to it, which children can follow along to. But really the kind of magic of that song is actually the chords, which Jake ended up putting to it, which, to be honest, if you still asked me to tell you what those chords are specifically, I couldn't tell you. And this very just fantastic little opening riff as well, which I only found out about 2 weeks ago. The idea at the time is for it to sound like as the song begins, there's a bird starting to soar up in the air, which is just those little details which not even I had ever picked up on after all this time, which really make the song kind of what it is. And then one of the things we always really try to find and settle on is we always listen to a song and go, okay, sort of where do we think it sits in terms of a genre and style? And we went with this one. We want something which is perhaps a little more almost folky in a perhaps non-traditional sense. But we kind of landed there, and then it's one of those things where for a while I just go away and work and figure out, okay, how is this all going to sound? We played around actually with this song with a few different things which didn't make the cut. So we had a very, very talented fiddle player come in at one point, and he put down the work on Who's in the Barn as well, which did make it onto the album. But then we also had him put down some takes for Toucan, which were just absolutely phenomenal to listen to. But we just couldn't quite figure out how to make it work. It was one of those songs where we went through probably 5 or 6 iterations to land at the version which we landed on. And in the end, it came out really, really well. It's probably one of my favorite songs, that one, but it definitely took some time to really figure out how it worked.
All right. Well, we're going to check that one out right now. Here it is. Who Can Toucan by Easy Peasy.
Who can do the toucan? You can. Yeah, I know you can. Let's all do the toucan. Do it together. Shake your feather. Make your arms like wings and flap them up and down. Wobble your knees, then turn around. Nod your head to the beat. Scratch the dirt with your feet. Get ready to fly. Come on, let's give it a try. Who can do the toucan? You can. Yeah, I know you can. Let's all do the toucan. Do it together. Shake your feather. Funky to dance like a monkey. One day I wish to dance like a fish, do ballet like a swan, and dance like a dingo, a possum or a cat or a pink flamingo. But most of all, the toucan. Who can do the toucan? You can. Yeah, I know you can. Let's all do the toucan. Do it together. Shake your feather. Can toucan, I know you can. Who can toucan? I know you can toucan.
And that was Who Can Toucan. All right, next song we'll talk about is called The Fairy Garden Ball. Tell us about this one.
The Fairy Garden Ball. That's one of those ones where it's almost a little bit magical how quickly it came together. So it actually came together after we had kind of landed at this easy peasy party idea. And once we knew there was this idea of it being, kind of a party, so to speak, we started to become a little bit more targeted rather in how we wrote songs for the rest of the album, and really wanted to then pick out some specific songs which would be tied to particular themes, which you might find at a children's birthday party. So we knew that we were looking for a song about fairies. And it was one of those ones where, as we were kind of getting towards the back end of writing the album, we were all just going through little voice memos we had or all that sort of thing, just to find some fresh ideas that we maybe hadn't played with before. And Michael flicked through his voice memos and found a voice memo which was just 10 seconds of a glockenspiel. And you'll have to forgive me, I'm not a singer at all, but it was that little melody that you hear at the start of the Fairy Garden Ball that goes da 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 da. Just playing that for 10 seconds over and over. And he put it into the group chat one day and said, "Do we think there's anything in this?" And then probably half an hour later, Jake came back with a complete demo for the Fairy Garden Ball. And that was, again, I actually don't believe we changed anything lyrically or structure-wise too much from the original demo. I know definitely the lyrics didn't change, but it was one of those ones where it just clicked in my head instantly as well. And the minute I heard it, I went, it needs an orchestra. Now, that's a very big statement for someone to make. To wake up one day and go, well, that's fine. Today I'm going to sit down and write out an orchestration for a 60-piece orchestra. But it was one of those ones where, again, I just instantly heard in my head, okay, that's exactly what sort of song this is. So it was a very interesting exercise for me in particular, because it played around with a few different things which we hadn't played with before. So the first being, Jake had written the song in the original demo as it started in this 4/4 sequence, which goes through for the first kind of minute and a half of the song. But then in the original demo, he just pauses. And then it starts into this 3/4 section, which a lot of people more commonly know as waltz time, where it kind of goes into this fairy waltz, and it's got a little bit of a swing to it, and there's a complete change to the tempo and the rhythm. And then it snaps back to that 4/4 timing. So it was an interesting challenge for me, because then I have to figure out, okay, so how do we musically transition from point to point? And that's where we actually played a little bit with free time, or basically no timing musically at all, to bring in all of these little orchestral passages, which are almost designed to sound a little bit magical, and almost like you're kind of magically flying or teleporting from place to place. And then we brought in the orchestral element, that was a 2-week endeavor for me, where basically we wrote and scored for a 60-piece orchestra, and then recorded that with a mixture of computer-based elements and some live instruments as well, and then created this hybrid. In the end, it ended up at about 120 tracks worth of elements just to piece this song together. Now, for context, a typical Easy Peasy song has about 30 to 40 tracks in the finished product. So to jump ahead suddenly into 120 tracks was a huge undertaking, but it's probably been one of the most enjoyable songs to record with everyone, just because I think for every one of us in different ways, it really, really stretched us. I think vocally it was quite a big undertaking for Harmony, because it's a demanding song. Where the melody sits, it sits comfortably in her range, but it's definitely not an easy song to be able to sing through. I think, to be honest, we had one recording session where we spent about 6 hours just working on the vocals for that. And then I think there was another 2 or 3 hours after that polishing the vocals up. So it was a very, very intense process for everyone involved, but the product in the end is just absolutely stunning. As soon as we finished it, we went, well, that definitely has to be the second single for the album, because that's just, for us, it's very important to introduce children to all kinds of music from all walks of life, country music, orchestral music, whatever it is. And for us, that means we often really put ourselves outside of our comfort zone and dive headfirst into a genre or style of music we've never touched in our lives. So for a product to come out that well, we just went to ourselves, well, that has to be a single right there. It's a song which we're all very, very proud of.
Absolutely. Sounds like a monumental undertaking. I'm still blown away at the 120 tracks. All right. Well, let's check out the end result. Here it is, The Fairy Garden Ball by Easy Peasy.
Come on, everybody, come on, everyone, to the fairy garden ball with me. I know a magic place where the fairies go to have their secret garden ball. It has to be a place where nobody knows, because they're only 3 leaves tall. And so it's hidden away in the stalk of a mushroom. rushing crowds, a place to giggle and play to ballet in the French room. So if you wanna go, put glitter on your nose and spread your wings and fly around. Come on everybody, come on everyone to the fairy garden, go with me. There'll be lots of fairies dancing and having so much fun. The fairy garden, go with me. Come to the fairy garden, go with me. Alright everyone, let's go inside.
Welcome, one and all. Let's all fairy waltz.
La la la, la la la, la 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 la, la la la, la la la, la la la.
So now you know the place where all the fairies go to have their secret garden swell. Now in order for you to stay, you must say the fairy oath, I always promise not to tell.
Because it's hidden away in the stalk of a mushroom, deep in the woods without a sound. A place to giggle and play, crunch and say in the ballroom. So if you wanna go, put glitter on your nose and spread your wings and fly around. Come on everybody, come on everyone to the fairy garden, go with me. There'll be lots of fairies dancing and having so much fun. The fairy garden, go with me. Come on everybody, come on everyone to the fairy garden, go with me. There'll be lots of fairies dancing and having so much fun. The fairy garden, go with me. At the fairy garden, go with me. Come to the fairy garden, go with me.
That was the Fairy Garden Ball. All right, we're going to talk about Dino Disco next. You brought this one up. I love this song title. I think as children's artists, we know kids love dinosaurs. We all got to have a dinosaur song in our arsenal.
Absolutely.
So tell us
It's
about
an
Dino
essential,
Disco.
really.
It is, really.
So, Dino Disco, I kind of spoke a little bit about it before. Dino Disco is actually quite an old song in many ways. So, it was one of those ones where there was a demo from about 2019, 2020 of just the melody and the drum beat. And then in the earlier days, when I referred a little bit earlier to Michael King and Friends, a couple different people had a go at recording a backing track for Dino Disco. But there wasn't really a track which had quite clicked yet. And Michael had never really been able to figure out the lyrics for it. So it was one of those ones where when we were looking at songs to record for that demo package, it was really a song which I had actually pushed for, because for whatever reason, after all these years, that melody was just still stuck in my head. So it was one of those ones again where Michael sent it off to Jake, and then Jake came back probably a day later with this complete set of lyrics for the song. He's very, very good at taking a small idea and turning it into something huge, which is, it's a incredible talent. I'm very, very envious of that skill. But it was one of those ones again where in our somewhat silly minds, we go to ourselves, well, what would a Dino Disco actually sound like? Because there's no template for what a Dino Disco could sound like. Sure, you've got the word disco in there, but we're talking about something which would have happened millions of years ago. So in the end, we actually landed on quite an interesting pathway, where at the time I had been looking at this particular style of guitar playing and picking from Africa called Maskandi. Now, it's got a very melodic sort of sound to it, but it really adds a lot of texture. And it lends itself well to rhythmically playing off a lot of different percussive elements. So the song originally started with a combination of different percussive elements, so lots of congas, tambourines, shakers, all that sort of thing, a bass line, and then this electric guitar. And then once I had that influence there, I just started to kind of build around that bass layer, and took a lot of influence from Paul Simon's Graceland album, of all things, just because it's one of those things where I always look for an association with something. And as I was starting to record it, I went to myself, it kind of sounds like that sort of music, which I've heard before. So I ended up starting to draw some ideas going down that pathway, which things like the kalimba came in, and then we had some different whistles come in as well. And it was, again, a very organic song, which just came together from this bass idea. And then it just grew and grew and grew. But it came out very, very quickly. That song, from memory, was completely recorded in 2 to 3 days. And when I say 2 to 3 days, we have a very interesting workflow in that I'm based down here in Melbourne, but everyone else is based in the Gold Coast. Now, for a little bit of context, the Gold Coast is about 2,000 kilometres away from me. It's a very long way away. So it's a very interesting workflow where one day down here in my studio, I'll be working on a backing track. And then the next day, Michael, Jake and Harmony are in a studio 2,000 kilometres away, putting down vocals on a song. So it was one of those ones where in probably 2 days for us, it came together very, very quickly. And in some ways, it still remained a very simple song. We'd played around with big stacks of backing vocals and everything else. But in the end, we just decided all it actually needed was that lead vocal. And then there are 2 layers of harmonies from Jake and Harmony. And then I think there's maybe 2 or 3 little ad-libs in. But that's as far as we pushed it, because it's just one of those songs where I think, one, the music really drives it. And we hope that the music kind of makes children want to dance and get up and kind of pretend that they're a part of the Dino Disco too. But also, and that really too connects into the lyrics of "Everybody's welcome at the Dino Disco." We're not dinosaurs, obviously, but we wanted something which would just spark that imagination in the child of, oh, I can be at the Dino Disco too. So yeah, it was just a very, very organic, natural song, which came out very, very quickly for us.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to play this song now for everyone. Here it is, Dino Disco by Easy Peasy.
Everybody hears me roar when I do the dinosaur. Stomp my feet and shake the floor when I do the dinosaur. Swing my tail and swing some more when I do the dinosaur. I'm so big you can't ignore when I do the dinosaur. Everybody's dancing at the Dino Disco. See the Stegosaurus playing on the bongo. Everyone's invited to the Dino Party. A Tyrannosaurus Rex has just started laughing. Everybody hears me roar when I do the dinosaur. Stomp my feet and shake the floor when I do the dinosaur. Swing my tail and swing some more when I do the dinosaur. I'm so big you can't ignore when I do the dinosaur. Everybody's welcome at the Dino Soiree, where Velociraptors and Triceratops play. Everybody's hiding from the Brontosaurus. Playing hide and seek is fun, I don't think he saw us. Ready or not, here I come! Everybody's dancing at the Dino Disco. See the Stegosaurus playing on the bongo. Everyone's invited to the Dino Party. A Tyrannosaurus Rex has just started laughing. Everybody hears me roar when I dinosaur, stomp my feet and shake the floor. When I do the dinosaur, swing my tail and swing some more. When I do the dinosaur, I'm so big you can't ignore. When I do the dinosaur.
And that was Dino Disco. That wraps up our song features. The album is called Easy Peasy Party. So, Charlie, let everybody know where people can stream, purchase, and download that album and how they can find and connect with all of you.
So Easy Peasy Party is available in all of the usual spots. So you can find it on Spotify, Apple Music, all of those places. We do very, very soon have some CDs on the way, which I don't think I'm meant to actually tell anyone yet, but it's out there now. So the CDs will be out very, very soon through our website, www.easypeasylive.com. And through that website as well, you can also find all of our other music. There's also CDs for our first album, lots of other bits and pieces. But the main way which you can best connect with us is through Instagram, as everyone does these days, at Easy Peasy Music for Kids. And we're constantly active over there, kind of sharing what we're working on and posting regular updates and engaging with everyone, because we always love having a chat with people who listen to our music. So really, that's kind of the main place to go. Otherwise, all the music, all the videos, everything else we have going on, you can find through the website.
Awesome. All right. What is the next big thing for Easy Peasy?
In our typical fashion, there's usually about 3 things going on at once. So really, this year there'll be plenty of new music. So again, not really meant to tell anyone yet, but there's definitely a new album on the way, and also lots of little singles this year as well. So taking a look at some very exciting times of the year, including Christmas time, and then there'll be plenty more live shows, and then we're looking at the moment at the possibility of recording some fresh videos for YouTube using some of these songs from Easy Peasy Party.
Fantastic. Well, Charlie, I really appreciate you coming on the show, telling us all about Easy Peasy. Good getting to know you and dive a little deeper into your work. I'll definitely find you on Instagram, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. It's been so much fun.
Talk soon.